Why do we care about grammatical development? Imagine what human language would be like without grammar. Language without grammar is words, but not words in the way we generally think about them. There would be no nouns or verbs or adjectives because those parts of speech are part of grammar. Part of speech information tells us how words combine with other words. In this version of human language, though, words still refer to things in the world, concrete objects, people, events, situations, qualities. So we can still use them as communication guides, directing the attention of others to whatever we want them to notice. If I'm walking through a field with my wife, I can still point to a flower and say,
flower,
or
pretty,
or
grow.
But what if I want to report an event to another person who hasn't herself witnessed it? I could point to the broken vase and say,
cat,
hoping the listener infers the connection. Or I could say in 3 separate utterances,
cat, break, vase.
Although I can't say broke because that's past tense and tenses are part of grammar. Actually, I could just as easily say
cat, vase, break, break, cat, vase, vase, cat, break.
And it wouldn't matter what the order of the words would be, because word order is part of grammar. Still, if I scatter enough words and do enough pointing, my listener would probably get the idea, eventually. There is one very difficult drawback to a language with no grammar. How does one refer to something that doesn't exist? So here I am walking in the field with my wife, but now there are no flowers. How do I comment on their absence? I can't just say
flower
with rising intonation, because rising intonation to signal a question is part of grammar. What if I wanted to deny that the cat broke the vase? I cannot say
cat, not, break, vase.
Because not doesn't point to anything. So what is not? It is a grammatical function word. It is a member of the closed class of grammatical function words that are integral to grammar. Not operates on the meanings of other words, kind of like multiplication is not a number, but an operation performed on numbers. When your language contains words like not, operating on other words, altering their value in a consistent and predictable manner, you have grammar. Why do we study grammatical development? Every typically developing child goes through the one-word stage. It is a phase of development when children use words to label things in the environment, like or cat. But in the one-word stage, language lacks grammatical operations. How children shift from having no grammar to having a grammar is one area of research in psycholinguistics, and it is especially important to communications, sciences, and disorders. Because there are children who face developmental challenges that make learning language difficult. And it is part of the mission of speech-language pathology to support those children. That's why grammatical development matters, both for the children and the adults who care for them.